I call Loop Hero the monopoly of RPG games. I know that sounds kind of weird, but stick with me and you'll understand why I say this. We play as an unnamed hero who is thrown into an endless loop by the Lich. Nobody remembers where, who, and why are they there. Everything beyond the horizon is darkness. The game is a mix between Monopoly, yes, let me finish, idle games, RPG, and card games. Monopoly because every expedition we start there's a map that's drawn automatically, and like the name of the game, it's a loop. There's a camp that each time we pass through it, we recover a portion of our life points. But there's also different tiles that react with each time we pass above them, and we use cards to build the map so we can set villages that heals us a little, vampire mansions that make vampires appear on the map, rocks that lets us build mountains that later on can bring harpies to the map. There's a lot of different interactions to discover with each card we use. Idle games because the game can almost play by itself. The hero runs around the loop without our control. We can pause the game to play some cards or change gear, and even the battles are fought without our interaction. We just equip our hero with weapons and armor, and each time the hero levels up we assign a new skill, but that's it. You can't decide which enemy you fight. The game does all of it by itself. It's part RPG because you can change your gear, skills, level up. There's even a town you can build that each time you create a new structure or level up an old one, you get a new card, and you can get a new advantage for your hero in your expeditions. At the time of this review there are 3 classes, each with different skills and slots for equipments. The warrior, the initial class, can use a shield, a ring and a one-handed weapon. Rogues can dual wield and they are the master of critical attacks. The third and final class is the necromancer. There's an element of roguelite in the game too. As I've said before, the best you can do is build your town to get new classes, abilities, and the best way to do that is go to expeditions, fight enemies, and collect resources. Resources are obtained in a lot of ways, from killing enemies to using cards, and even from passing over some tiles that you place using cards. There are 2 types of resources, fragments and complete pieces. We need a certain amount of fragments to form a piece. Most of the buildings we can create in the game need these complete pieces. You don't need to finish an entire expedition in a single run. You can retreat and come back to your camp with 60% of the resources you obtain during the run. That is, if you don't die, but if you do during the expedition, fret not, because you'll still go back to camp with 30% of the resources you got. You can complete an entire expedition after you beat its boss. To bring the boss out, you need to use a certain amount of cards and be in the loop a certain amount of time. There's a bar that indicates how long until the boss of the level can appear. If you can defeat it, you complete that expedition and you have access to the next level, where you'll face a new boss and the enemies will be harder. That's the gameplay loop in a nutshell. Expect some simple but really good pixel art and a bit of playing over and over each expedition multiple times. If you are not a fan of idle games, I can recommend this game to you. I think it's a fantastic game to play while doing something else, like most idle games. You don't need to focus completely in the game, you can let it run a little bit, pause the game, and later check your loot to upgrade your gear and play some cards. There can be some frustration when you are near death or against a boss, and your hero keeps on missing every attack. But when you remember that the game isn't so punishing when dying, you still get some of the resources you obtained during the run, like some other roguelites games, it's just a mild frustration in the end. The game nails that one more run perfectly, because even if you have 10 minutes to play and you know you can't complete a full expedition, you can still retreat, get some resources back to camp and feel good anyway. Because each time you start an expedition, the map, the enemies and the cards dealt to you are different. You won't feel like any of the previous expeditions you played before feel the same. The game has nice chieftains that maybe can get boring over time, but overall accompany the adventure in a great way. You get some relaxing songs at the beginning of each expedition with more action-packed songs when you've played quite some time and of course during boss fights. What I've liked the most about the game is the simple and enjoyable gameplay loop. Go to an expedition, get resources, grow and try again. What I dislike about the game is when some battles are a little RNG based. What I dislike about the game is some battles are a little too RNG dependent, like some attacks not landing or getting critical by the enemy and losing that expedition entirely because of that. In summary, I think this is a game that can be enjoyed by lovers of roguelites, deck building games and idle games. It's dirty cheap and you'll be hooked for hours trying different skills, classes and builds you can do to defeat the Lich once and for all and recover the world to its former state. I hope you guys liked the review. If you did, smash that like button and you can consider subscribing for more indie game content. Until next time.